very pleased to have on the line with us our friend and my friend and colleague, Mark Thompson from SiriusXM. He is the host of the Make It Plain show on SiriusXM Progress, the channel that we're on. He's on from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The website's SiriusXM.com. His Facebook is facebook.com/makeitplain. His Twitter is @makeitplain. Mark, welcome back.
Thank you, Tom, for having me. Still trying to get out with the snow and everything.
Yeah, so what's the situation there?
Well,
where are you?
I'm actually in Minneapolis. I was able to make it out of Des Moines. We were on the runway for about an hour while they plowed the runway, but the snowstorm has now followed me to Minneapolis. So I'm doubt very seriously I'll even make it back in time to do my show tonight. Kind of here, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So what was your experience last night in Iowa?
It was really a tremendous experience, Tom. We were able to bring all of the deliberations of a Democratic caucus live to our audience. Actually, it was Precinct 65, Wakanda Christian Church. Our audience heard the head count. Our audience heard some of the delegate negotiations between the Clinton people and the O'Malley people. It happened to be a precinct that Hillary Clinton won rather handily, but there was a strong representation from the Bernie Sanders supporters. Bernie had about approximately 140 votes. Hillary Clinton had approximately 240 votes. There were a few undecideds. Those undecideds in that particular precinct ended up going to Hillary. And the O'Malley people had about 18 supporters. So out of that specific precinct, there were 6 Clinton delegates and 3 Sanders delegates. But the bottom line is that it was just really fascinating, I think, for the audience to hear for the first time the inner workings of an Iowa caucus.
Yeah, yeah. What was your sense of the mood of the people in these 3 campaigns? I'm guessing the O'Malley people were experiencing just sort of resignation.
If their support were able to match their enthusiasm, Martin O'Malley would be the Democratic nominee.
In other words, they really loved Martin O'Malley.
Yeah, and they were very enthusiastic, and they tried to negotiate their 18 votes in exchange for a delegate for O'Malley. That almost came to pass, but it didn't quite come to pass.
It did. You know, in a couple of these places, the Clinton people had enough extra people that they could throw some people to O'Malley so that he'd get a delegate and Sanders would lose a delegate.
Well, in this particular case, that was on the table, but it ultimately didn't come to pass.
They didn't have.
But they were
numbers.
still, they were still very, very enthusiastic. Otherwise, though, I mean, it was a very amicable situation, and you and I have talked about this. I mean, being in the caucus, people interacting and engaging one another face to face, very amicable, not quite as acrimonious as we see on social media. I will say that. So that was encouraging.
At least most of these people are neighbors, right?
Yeah. However, there were a lot of first-time Democratic registrants that showed up last night. And not quite sure what that's about, but a number of people came who were Republicans and independents switching over to caucus.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing that and we've heard on this show. I'm curious if you're hearing the same thing on your show on SiriusXM from people who have self-identified as sort of Reagan Democrats or as independents, or even who thought they were libertarians, and they hear Bernie's message and they go, "Whoa, this guy's got it!" And suddenly they want to become Democrats because of Bernie. Do you think that's what was going on?
Possibly. I think that's a fair hypothesis. I've not had those interactions yet myself. From some libertarians, I will say there. I've heard from some libertarians who support Bernie. Not heard from any Reagan Democrats. I didn't even know there was still any of those.
Well, they call them Republicans now.
I was hoping they were all gone. But,
there you go.
Not my favorite people.
What was the mood of the Clinton people?
Confident and pretty gracious. They were both of those things. I think the most enthusiastic bunch, though, was the Bernie Sanders people. and they came out in droves. And I must say, this particular precinct, it was very mixed in terms of age and gender. So not so much. I think a lot of people thought that all of Bernie's support would be students, young people, but not necessarily. A lot of the support he had last night was from middle-aged people as well. In fact, most of it, the young people were not in the majority in that caucus last night.
Yeah, I understand only something like 20% of or fewer of eligible young people in Iowa actually voted or caucused. Showed up.
Right.
So, but that's still a historically high number apparently.
It is.
Yeah.
I think both sides won.
Yeah.
I think that as we said yesterday, Bernie was going to win no matter what because of the discussion he's brought into this primary and caucus season.
Yeah.
Hillary, on the other hand, though, I think saved face. I think that she was concerned, and her people were concerned, and her supporters were concerned of Bernie winning outright, and maybe even her being trounced. They didn't want a repeat of 2008.
Right.
So I think both of them came out of Iowa pretty even.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that analysis. I think a tie for a guy who had no super PAC and had no allies, was not endorsed by any of the politicians in the state. All of the super delegates are going to Hillary. For Bernie to pull that off is astonishing.
But the other thing too, I think we have to be careful about, and this goes back to us as progressives, lefties, Democrats, whatever we want to call ourselves along that spectrum. It requires us to be very, very careful. Obviously, the corporate media wants to divide and conquer us, so they instigate a lot of skirmishes between the parties, just like they did with Biden and Hillary. After all, Biden had to come out and say that deathbed, go win one for the Gipper statement his son said was, after all, not true. Same thing with yesterday. There was, coming from both sides, that the Bernie people, or there were reports, I should say, that the Bernie people were saying that there was some cheating at some of the precincts, and all the precinct captains weren't there, and all the votes weren't counted. Then the reports from the corporate media that the Clinton people were already saying they were going to use the super delegates to overwhelm the Sanders campaign if he won as many or more delegates than her outright. It turns out neither of those situations or scenarios was entirely true, if true at all.
Right.
So I think we have to be very, very careful on our side that, the atmosphere that I saw in Iowa last night remains the atmosphere. Look, straight up and down, fair and square. This is a debate on the issues, not on personalities.
Yeah.
May the best woman or the best man win. And then come the convention, we'll see where we are, and we all ought to be prepared to support whomever. Should have been a wake-up call, man. Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Republicans.
That's that
scary
ought to
stuff.
Sober everyone up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we can't afford to fall out with each other.
Yeah,
that was a sobering thing last night. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, he's the reincarnation of Eugene McCarthy. Or Joe McCarthy, excuse me.
Joe McCarthy, of course he is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get better, because now they're saying, well, Trump has to win. Now he has to win New Hampshire. Rubio has to do something. Christie's basically relocated to New Hampshire. None of them are acceptable, Tom. We know this.
Yeah.
So we have to be very, very smart in terms of what we're doing on our side. We should have a vigorous debate on the issues, but we should be prepared that wherever the chips may fall, we've got to support one of these two candidates. I think it was good of O'Malley to drop out too. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But now these next debates, it'll be one-on-one. It'll be interesting.
Yep.
Bernie and Hillary.
It absolutely will be. I'm looking forward to it. And you and I, we're in the catbird seat here, Mark.
Yes, sir.
We are so fortunate to be in this business. Mark Thompson, host of Make It Plain Monday through Friday, Sirius XM, 6 to 9 p.m. Sirius Progress 127. Facebook.com/Make It Plain. @Make It Plain is the tweet. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, man.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.